Hello, this is Claude White, and this is the Pittsburgh Steelers Report. And now it's on to Cincinnati. Now, I am not shocked that the Steelers played their best game of the year against the Atlanta Falcons. To me, it was almost expected. If you know the Steelers the way I do, and you know how Mike Tomlin is, they sort of tread water for the first 4 to 6 games. Then they go on a mini streak, and then they sort of tread water again. But the goal, basically, especially now with the tie to the Cleveland Browns for the first game of the season, the goal is at least 10 games. I'd love to see us win 11 or 12, but I'll take 10 right now. And I do believe 10 wins will be all it takes to win the division this season. Now, I understand that Cincinnati is in first place. Baltimore helped us out by losing to the Cleveland Browns, by the way. But on to Cincinnati and our hated rivals, well, wannabe rivals. See, it can't be a rivalry until you actually win some games. And that's why I don't consider it a true rivalry. Because let's face it, the Cincinnati Bengals don't do jack shit in the playoffs. The only thing they managed to do is screw things up and screw us out of the title. Because when they knocked out D'Angelo Williams and, Antonio Brown that season, where Denver won, well, let's face it, the Steelers just had no shot of winning the Super Bowl that season. And it looks like that's going to turn out to be one of the better chances that the Steelers have had. Because I don't know if you can still bring back Le'Veon Bell after this offseason and how this early season has started out. But I digress. Now, this will be the game that tells you whether the Steelers are going to win the division or fall short and not make the playoffs at all. Because I fully expected them to beat the Falcons. I didn't think they were going to blow them out the way they did. But let's face it, Falcons season is done. And the best thing that we saw was the Steelers pass rush came back. See, when the Steelers can rush the passer, and especially a statue like, and Matt Ryan is a statue in today's football. Now, Andy Dalton, Andy Dalton, I always call him Opie, because he looks like Opie from the old Andy Griffith show. If you remember that show, you remember Sergeant Andy Taylor's son, Opie, who was played by Ron Howard. And that's who Andy Dalton reminds me of. And he sort of plays like him in a big spot. Now, the Dolphins are coming off a big win against the Miami Dolphins, and you can see the Dolphins starting to flush their season down the toilet after starting 3-0, and they got exposed by the Patriots a couple of weeks ago, and they're just going to go downhill, especially with old Ryan Tannehill at quarterback. But I'm telling you, now this team, they're a decent team, especially during the regular season. They have a good running game, but I think Mixon might be out for a couple of weeks. So it looks like Giovanni Bernard will be going back there, and he gives the Steelers a little bit of fits. Of course, Tyler Eifert is out for the season, but their receiving core is big and physical, outside of John Ross, who's a speed merchant, but he's not the most physical guy in the world. I actually like Tyler Boyd, and of course, one of my favorite players, I hate to say, is A.J. Green. Wish he was on a real team, but hey, he's part of the Bengal lore. Now, if you notice, folks, it's funny. Joe Hayden comes back, David DeCastro comes back, and those two parts of the team get stronger exponentially. Look at how John Connor ran the football with David DeCastro running that left guard spot. I mean, he's an outstanding road grade run blocking guard. He is. Joe Hayden is not the player that he was 4 or 5 years ago. But in this Steelers secondary, he's still the best they have. Now, if you tell me that you're going to trade Le'Veon Bell for an elite corner or an elite free safety, I'd be all for it. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen. And Le'Veon Bell should be coming to the Steelers after this bye week. Now, there are reports there saying that Le'Veon Bell does not want to leave the Steelers. Now, we shall see how that works out in the locker room. But I do expect the Steelers to play very well. And they have owned the Cincinnati Bengals. We still remember what happened to Antonio Brown, knocked him out. Ryan Shazier, boy, the Steelers have not, and it'll almost be impossible to replace that guy. I mean, let's see what happens, though. L.J. Fort played very well last week. You know what? Keep riding the hot hand. I like him. He brings some speed, brings some toughness. And maybe I should keep criticizing Bud Dupree because he played well also last week. Steelers play like this, they can do some damage. It's all about the pass rush when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. If they can get three sacks, that's going to be the magic number. If they can get 3 or more sacks, they blow out teams. That's all there is to it. And people forget, last year the Steelers did lead the NFL in sacks. Cameron Hayward played extremely well, and so did Stephon Tuitt. Now, that front line played very, very well. They do that, keep that up, we will win the division yet again. And, of course, the offense played well. Antonio Brown had his first 100-yard game. And Big Ben was pretty... I tell you, Big Ben throws some of the dumbest interceptions. That interception at the end of the half, triple coverage, Antonio Brown, my God. But that's Big Ben being Big Ben. But for the most part, he did play well. And again, Juju Smith-Schuster is doing the job. I really like how he has progressed in his second year. Now, my prediction, I think the Steelers it's going to be hard fought in Cincinnati, but I do think the Steelers will win the game. I just have a feeling that it's time for one of those runs that the Pittsburgh Steelers make, and they know that they have a bye week, and they like to end the bye week on a strong note. And I see the Pittsburgh Steelers winning this football game 27-17 over the Bengals. This is Claude Sports Corner, the Pittsburgh Steelers Report. Please take care and God bless.